But first tonight, do you remember back in the good old days, 2007, the golden era of politics, the self-serving claims that John Howard was too old to be Prime Minister? At the time, he was a sprightly and very energetic 66-year-old, and he had nearly a dozen years' experience as the best Prime Minister in my lifetime at least. And that narrative, that he was too old, was pushed by a bunch of media outlets. It was pushed by the Labor Party and a few lefties within the Liberal Party who didn't want Howard to be the leader anymore. Now today, John Howard is 81 and he could still run intellectual rings around many of the current crop of political leaders, both here and abroad. Unfortunately, we can't say the same for the United States political administration, which is starting to resemble the movie Weekend at Bernie's. You may recall that film involved a couple of losers pretending their dead boss was actually still alive so that they could enjoy his beach house and his enormously extravagant lifestyle for the whole weekend. So now we have the Weekend at Biden's.
This fall, get ready for a presidential candidate unlike any other.
I think we're good.
Weekend at Biden's.
This is the reality show where the Democrats put up a barely cogent candidate for president just so that they could enjoy the spoils of office for 4 years. And of course, it features an all-star cast of the politically semi-lucid, headlined by Joe Biden himself. But he's ably supported, I have to say, by crazy Nancy Pelosi and the hapless Chuck Schumer. The character of the manipulating, unlovable loser belongs to the cackling Kamala Harris.
Okay, I'll go stage, but yeah.
Now, as befits the Democrats, the plot is pretty simple. A trio of near octogenarians. Oh, that reminds me. Happy 80th birthday today, Nancy Pelosi. They seize control of the most powerful nation in the world while not having any idea what they're doing. All the while, their radical understudy plots to seize power for herself. It's incredible, huh? Now, the star of the show, Joe Biden, walks and talks. But the walking is a bit worrying, while the talking is often total gibberish.
On politics, like prevailing and look, I guess I'm taking too much time. Play the radio. Make sure the television. Make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. Make sure the kids hear words. If it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway, we're going to get a lot done.
In a strange twist, this main star has to ask his carer/wife where he is when he wakes up most mornings.
I get up in the morning and look at Jill and say, where the hell are we?
And of course, that's not the only question arising from this true-to-life mockumentary. The audience are left spellbound and asking how Biden, after spending his entire adult life in Congress earning the inflation-adjusted equivalent of just $200,000 per year, came to own multiple houses and accrue enormous family wealth. Now, whatever canny investing Biden did to afford a lifestyle where his family can afford to abandon laptops in repair shops and enjoy regular jaunts to China and the Ukraine, it seems to be contagious. Because his sidekick, Crazy Nancy, uses her substantial wealth to hoard ice cream in her $24,000 freezer.
This is something you can get through the mail. Other people in our family go for some other flavors, but chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here.
Unfortunately, Nancy's ice cream prepping fetish induces a form of weekend post-binge brain freeze from which she seems unable to escape.
Out of your quiver, you're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution.
Of course, there are three characters in this performance, and the third is Chucky Schumer, who, fortunately for us, is relegated to a bit part because he let people know that there's a bit more than mere politics on his mind.
There will be a trial, and when that trial ends, senators will have to decide if they believe Donald John Trump incited the insurrection.
It's meant to be rated PG after all. But anyway, behind this lacklustre trio is cackling Kamala, who seemingly can only laugh hysterically at any question actually directed her way. Now, of course, that makes her the most lucid character in the entire script.
It's unclear when the president or vice president will take a trip south.
Not today.
Not funny to border state senators.
That is not compassionate. That is not giving a damn.
Now, given the cast, the plot of Weekend at Biden's makes some all too predictable twists and turns. Children are kept in cages, unarmed invaders flood into the United States, while trillions of dollars in printed money is dropped from helicopters and fuels price rises in fuel, foodstuffs and other necessities. And despite the chaos whirling around him, Biden's minders tell him to call a lid on his weekend, and he does. But he decides to let his playmates and their friends do whatever they want with all the resources available to Mr. Biden himself. And so his friends decide to rename the Biden administration the Biden-Harris administration. They decide to allow males to compete in female sports, while arguing in public that removing dead people from electoral rolls is actually voter suppression. An empowered Kamala even enlists the help of Bill Clinton to host a forum on empowering women. I mean, who better to help fight for women's rights than the serial female empowerer of women himself? Now, there's no word on whether this is to be held on Bill's regular Caribbean retreat, Little St. James, now that former owner Jeffrey Epstein cannot provide free flights and accommodation. Well, we're only a few episodes into this 4-year premiere season of Weekend at Biden's, but already the audience seems to be losing interest. A recent public appearance by key cast members could draw only a couple of dozen fans, which suggests that the decision to replace the previous political programming will actually be regretted by tens of millions of Americans. Unfortunately for all of us watching, it's easy to see how this is all going to end.